What does it feel like to be at that point where you're ready to do it?
You feel like you have no soul. You feel like you have no way out. You feel like this pain is forever. You feel like that is your life.
I think there's so many people that have been where you were, and they never say anything about it.
Yourself side is one of the most selfish things you can do, because you're taking away all of your personal pain and giving it to every single person that cares and loves you.
Yeah, that's a crazy price to pay.
Yeah.
You know, especially if you go somewhere in the afterlife and you look down and you see all that grief and depression that you just put on somebody else.
Like, I almost went through with it a few times. Like, I would go home convinced that I would grab a knife at my wrist.
Let's maybe go into something a little softer.
Sure. And Josh, I remember him being like, well, you know what you need to do. You need to turn towards Christ. It felt like a whole new life. Like, I felt like I had a whole new life, and I believe it was because the night before I had decided, like, this is my old life, and I am completely committing to a new life. Like, this is a new start.
There are some things that will not make this podcast.
Yeah.
Welcome to the Right Now Show. We got Jack Youngblood. Jack hasn't been on the show yet, but he is my business partner.
I've been on the show once before with Brian.
Oh, that's true. He hasn't made an appearance on the show, but it wasn't about him. He was just kind of there.
I was there, yeah.
But yeah, dude, it's been a kind of a crazy journey.
Yeah.
I was in the podcast house with Ace, living in Nashville. Ace decided he didn't want to do it anymore. Mm-hmm. But you decided that you wanted to keep it alive. Yeah. So you kind of came to me and like, here's an opportunity. We're going to rent this house.
It was 1 month ago that we got the house, like access to the house. So officially 1 month. Well, it's April 1st. Whenever you post this, it'll be
so we've
like
been inside this house for a month, basically. Mm-hmm. We got here. We built the studio for like 3 weeks straight. Yeah. We thought it was only going to take like maybe a week. It took like 3.
Yeah.
But we made 2 badass studios.
Oh, yeah. Top notch.
And completely restarted the business, rebranded the podcast house. Mm-hmm. Now we're in Franklin, Tennessee, 30 minutes south of Nashville. And we're rolling here, baby.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Rolling and ready.
Mm-hmm.
Had a great party.
Had a great party.
Yeah. Had a lot of people show up.
Yeah.
Some invited, some not invited, but yeah.
Sure. But yeah, no, I mean, the community has definitely gotten behind us, and we got some really cool people, on our back and stuff like that. So we're definitely blessed for that.
Yeah.
Your dad has helped out a tremendous amount.
Yep.
You know,
supportive family
in the backyard. Yeah, your whole family has been helping out. So, kudos to you guys. Yeah. Super grateful. Let's get into your story.
Sure.
How old are you? Where are you from? What does Jack Youngblood do?
Well, I'm 23 years old. I am from Michigan. Moved here last August, and about a month into moving here to Franklin, I met Zach and joined the old podcast house to edit all the videos and stuff. Jack Youngblood is business owner, college dropout, former college athlete, a Christian who's fallen away a couple times before, but now is stronger than ever in his faith. Love traveling. I've been to 42 out of 50 states. I want to hit 50 sometime in my 20s.
Heck yeah.
Been to Europe before, but I want to explore a lot more European countries.
Mm-hmm.
Gonna go to the, I guess you can say Middle East. Is Armenia considered Middle East?
I don't know.
Actually.
I'm not that
Mediterranean, I guess.
Geography.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah.
Cool, bro.
Yeah, that's me.
That's sick.
In a nutshell.
What was childhood like, growing up?
It was good. I don't really have any complaints. I mean, I was bullied a lot as a kid, but I mean, I was raised by 2 loving parents, great family, great brother. Mm-hmm. Even though, brothers fight and stuff, we definitely got into our little fights. But no, I mean, lived in the suburbs, went to a good school.
Michigan, right?
Yeah, in Michigan. Mm-hmm. Lived in the suburbs, Troy, Michigan. I'll say it, I don't care. It's a bigger city, so it's not like,
it is kind of known as like a gang city, I guess you could say.
No, Detroit.
Yeah.
But not Troy.
Oh, Troy.
Troy, yeah. No, I'm from Troy, in the Detroit area. Yeah, it can get confused sometimes. But Troy is a suburb like 40 minutes north. It has a little bit of criminal activity nowadays, but when I was a kid, nothing. Pretty much nothing. Like no tornadoes would hit, no criminal activities besides some like maybe some Amber Alerts that go on in like the county. But no, childhood was great. Like I don't really have any complaints. I'm like even the bullying made me stronger. And that's even in like elementary school. It'd be like, getting picked on or something like that. Like it would just make me stronger. Nothing like traumatizing.
Yeah, no, for sure. Now I know you played college basketball. Were you always into sports growing up?
I would say so. My
Yeah.
parents made sure that I was pretty. Well, my dad never played a sport in his life, so I don't know if it was that important for his kids to play sports. But my mom knew that kids should usually have those experiences. I played at a really young age. I played soccer, baseball, a little bit of basketball before I got serious into it years later. I don't know if I think it was just soccer, baseball, and basketball, unless I'm forgetting something. But I think those were like the main ones. I
Super
played
active
baseball
kid growing up.
Yeah.
Playing sports. Would you say you were an athlete naturally, or?
No, well, hard to say because my mom played high school tennis, and she's like an athletic woman.
Your first answer was initially no.
No, I wouldn't say, because if I never got serious about basketball, I definitely wouldn't say it. I'd be a very scrawny, unathletic, uncoordinated kid.
Yeah.
Basketball was the reason that got me athletic. I think it's just I had to work extremely hard for it.
Right.
Because when I started playing basketball seriously in 6th grade, I sucked. I couldn't jump like a few inches off the floor, shot the ball double-handed. Like it was
so not
horrible.
Necessarily like naturally athletic.
Definitely.
Maybe not terrible.
I wasn't
like,
meant to play basketball.
Right.
I
mean, there's some people that pick it up and like, dude, they're just showing up. They're doing the layups like it's nothing. It's just
which annoys me.
Yeah.
Because I remember the countless hours I had to put in.
Yeah.
Like when I say countless, I mean like my parents can confirm this, like 8 to 10 hours a day in the driveway, like dribbling the ball or shooting the ball in the driveway from when I would wake up to when I'd go to sleep. In middle school and high school, I would go to a gym. But
when did the bullying start?
Depends on if you're talking about childhood bullying or more of like haters when I started really liking basketball.
I feel like they kind of coordinate with each other in a sense where it's like I had all these bullies and then like I wanted to do this thing called basketball and there was people that I needed to kind of prove wrong here. So I wanted to get really good at this so I could shove it in their face kind of thing.
Yeah, so then you'd be talking about in the later years, like that was like 8th grade when that would have started.
Right.
Wait, what was the question?
Originally, like when did the bullying start? And then did like bullying and like basketball, did that kind of like coordinate? Was that kind of like your breakthrough moment, or like the way that you could kind of get out of that bullying, or like kind of maybe even get back at those? I know that's not like your intention right now, but during that time, of course. I mean, especially during those years, like, you're like,
okay. You're a 13-year-old kid. That's kind of all that goes through your head. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, you don't know any better. You don't know how to like deal and be like, oh, let me lead with peace. Like it probably just kind of goes over your head, and you're like, all right, we're gonna get revenge here.
Oh, that was definitely because that was also at that time I wasn't really I wouldn't have labeled myself a Christian when I was like 13, 14 because I was going through those certain things and I blamed God for it. But yeah, it started in 8th grade. I don't even think any of them would see this. And I mean, I've forgiven all of them in my head, but.
Welcome to the podcast house. We're located in Franklin, Tennessee.
We're a fully done for you podcast studio where you come in, talk, and we take care of everything else.
Podcast House is operated by podcasters and filmmakers.
Podcast House is for anybody who has a vision for a message that they want to get out there.
Some people, they just always wanted a podcast. They see people like Joe Rogan and George Janko and Chris Willix, and they're like, I want to be like that. And Podcast House gives you an opportunity to become like those guys, to give you a platform, to give you a voice, to share your story.
So we record the full podcast. We offer editing. We offer short form content. We offer YouTube thumbnails. Pretty much anything that you can think of in the podcasting realm, we offer.
We've worked with people that literally just get started with their podcast. And then we've also worked with celebrities like Michael Chandler and Haley Welsh and Caitlin Bristow.
It's changing the narrative of what podcast studios are.
When you come in here, it's a homey vibe. It doesn't feel like you're in a studio, but you are in a studio at the same time.
It's quite literally a home. It's a home remade into a podcast studio.
Podcast House is all about taking the headache out of podcasting and giving people a platform for their story and their voice to be heard.
So in 7th grade, I started playing basketball, or 6th grade started playing, then 7th grade. tried out for the team, didn't make it. I was like the first person cut out of like 60 people that tried out in the middle school.
Yeah.
And I was like first cut. I was extremely upset. That actually led me to meet the guy who pretty much propelled me to be able to be better at basketball. Coach Banks, who's been on my podcast like twice.
Nice.
So then I met him. He got me better. I put in constant hours, got way, way, way better in a year. But the thing is, when I started getting better, I was like able to dribble the ball through my legs or shoot more normally. 8th grade, I kind of started shooting behind my head, which isn't like normal.
You're good.
But I would say then in 8th grade, when I was clearly getting better, is when all the people that were on the basketball team, like all the quote unquote middle school cool kids, they were always cool with me in like 7th grade. Then 8th grade, when I came back and wanted to try out for the team again, that's when, and this had to have been like probably 20 to 30 people, completely switched up, like split second. All of a sudden, my friends are now people that like I go to school every day, and they are like getting in my head of like just saying like you're worthless, like you can't play, like what are you doing, you're an idiot, like it was both basketball insults and personal insults every day. Sometimes a little bit physical, nothing got like out of hand until high school, where eventually like long story short, I made the 8th grade team, and then I made the high school team and just kept getting better and better and better over the years. And then when we got to high school, it was the same people. And then it would get a little bit more physical during practice of like elbow to the throat or knee to the groin, or like not like outright, more of like I'm getting a rebound. Let me move my elbow a little bit to elbow this guy in the face.
Sure.
And that was usually me. And then I would probably retaliate because during when I was like 14, 15 was when like when I was 13, 14, I was suicidal because of all those things that I had to go through of like dealing with that every day. I didn't want to wake up, didn't want to go to school, all of that. And my perspective wasn't that I didn't believe in God, but I remember I would always say that, well, God hates me. God's making me go through this because for some reason he hates me. Now I realize that was the devil. And that was also, I would like to believe that God was testing me, like making me stronger in those years, because that definitely shaped me to defend myself, but also just not be able to be bothered by anything like that again. Like if someone were to, so you suck at podcasting, like I'm going to be like, cool, man, that's sorry to hear that you didn't like it. But like back then in basketball, like I really took it personally like I loved basketball. I wanted to go to the NBA because, you know, I was a young kid.
How deep do you want to go into that?
I'm okay with going whatever direction.
Okay.
Yeah.
So who was Jack back then? And, you know, like, why do you think you took all those things so personal? Just because you didn't know any better how to deal with it? Or it was just, like, so nonstop that it was just, like, you know, like, why me? You know, kind of playing victim mentality, those things. Like, why do you think that stuff hit you so hard back then?
Yeah, I think it was because I was younger and I didn't know how to deal with it.
Yeah.
I was passionate about something and I thought I had people behind me, but then it turned up to be like switching. I still did have like my family behind me and some really close friends still behind me.
Yeah.
But I was so young at that point, and it had started when I was 13, so kind of going off when I was 13, was that I couldn't see the good, so I only saw the bad. Yeah. And that's something that I wouldn't change if I could go back, just because that did mold me into a stronger person. Is that like nowadays I would brush off the bad and just focus on the good, but back then I feel like I needed that to be able to be stronger. I was more introverted, a little bit more shy back then, but that definitely broke me out of my shell.
Was there like one moment that just like almost put it over the top, or like one person that like it kind of comes to mind and you're like how could you do that? How could you do that to another human being?
I mean, there's a couple people, but I mean, yeah, you know, they were all younger at that point too. Like we're all adults now, and I don't talk to any of them, but I'm assuming that they're probably not the same person. At least I would hope not. And I mean, middle school kids can be cruel, and then, I mean, high school it was still the same story, but I would believe in college, you know, it would probably be like old rivals or something like that, but. Nowadays, I don't care. I'm not in basketball anymore. It's like There's no reason not to forgive for that.
Why do you think they decided to like pick on you?
Because I would like to believe that when you're getting better at something and when you're truly passionate, that's when people are going to turn their back because they're scared about you getting better than them. Is that they were already good.
Yeah.
They were kind of remaining the same, like they weren't getting any better or anything like that. But me, I mean, the trajectory was I was first cut in 7th grade. Then I barely made it on the 8th grade team. Then I was I made it on the freshman team without too much struggle. I made it on the JV team, almost no struggle.
So you think they just
I was
saw you getting better?
Yeah.
And that was literally the only reason.
I think so.
Do you think they realized how bad they were making you feel?
Definitely. There's no way.
And they actually intended that in the moment.
Oh, definitely. With the things that they were saying, like there's
Yeah.
no way a human being could not realize. Yeah. It was just everyday torment. It was pretty
Right.
bad. Yeah.
And you think their driving force is just because they didn't want you to get better than them?
Maybe.
They were willing to do anything to tear you down.
Yeah. I mean, I believe it just from
Yeah.
the memories of like what was said and what was done and the way that they went about it.
Right.
There's no way that, because there's just no way. Even if you are oblivious, there's no way that you wouldn't realize that because it was like intentionally bad every day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like there's a lot of people that can relate to you, at least on the bullying thing, and then suicidal thoughts as well,
definitely.
which is like, that's as dark as it gets.
It wasn't thoughts. It was actually like I almost went through with it a few times. Like I would go home convinced that I would grab a knife and my wrists. Or
So it starts with a thought, and then
Yeah.
like sometimes it leads to an action or it leads to words coming out of your mouth,
Yeah.
and then you're just one step away from doing it.
Yeah.
Which is like
Exactly.
it's like the
Scary.
darkest place you can be, and like I think there's so many people that have been where you were, and they never say anything about it. They just keep it down. What does it feel like to be at that point where you're ready to do it?
I mean, you're pretty much at the lowest point of your life at that point. Like you feel like everything is just worthless. And the only thing that kept me from doing it is realizing how great of a family I had. And I had a dog at the time and I loved my dog. I didn't want my, you see those videos online of dogs that get really sad when their owners die.
Yeah.
Could never do that. I could never do that to my family. Could never do that to myself. At the time, I guess I didn't realize, like I said, I focused on the bad. I didn't think about the good. I was blessed with an amazing life, an amazing family.
Yeah.
And all that could go through my head is like what was going bad in my life. And I was so young and immature. I didn't realize that all those things were building me up to be stronger.
Yeah.
In the end. But to feel, like to answer your question, to feel like that, you feel like you have no soul. You feel like you have no way out. You feel like this pain is forever. And obviously that's not true. But when you're especially young like that in middle school or high school, you feel like that is your life. Like there's no escaping that. And yeah, I mean, that's something that I would hope that people can get through, because if you get through it, then eventually it'll get better. But some people don't. I'm just lucky that I never went through with it. I'm a little bit of a scaredy cat, which is good. Like I'm glad I was scared to do it and that I would hesitate. But one thing that, I know you're about to ask a question, but my mom, this is one thing I have to add, and this would probably be helpful for anybody watching this podcast, is that my mom told me when I was going through that state, I don't think she knew how bad it was, but at one point she told me that killing yourself, suicide, is one of the most selfish things you can do, because you're taking away all of your personal pain and giving it to every single person that cares and loves you. So don't think about suicide or killing yourself as being able to escape all that pain. Think about it as that you are getting rid of the pain for yourself, but then putting it on your parents, your siblings, your grandma, your grandparents, your dog.
Dang.
Like you're that's the way to look at it. That's probably what kept me from taking it a step further.
Yeah, that's a crazy price to pay.
Yeah.
Especially if you go somewhere in the afterlife and you look down and you see all that grief and depression that you just put on somebody else. And I mean, especially if you go out that way, and because all those people are gonna be like, I could have done more.
Yeah.
What could I have said to them? What could I have done for them? How could I have been there for them?
Yeah.
They're gonna take all that weight on themselves.
Yeah.
And yeah, man, that was what was it again? Like, I want you to repeat that. Like
Suicide is one of the most selfish things that you can do, because you're taking away all of your personal pain and putting it onto everybody that loves you.
Wow. Yeah. No, that's deep.
Yeah.
I think there's
that
also
was my mom.
yeah. God bless her, man. I think there's also something to say, like, when you're in that state of like depression, like it's for real. I can't say that like I've experienced it like everybody else, probably not like you, where I wanted to kill myself, or I actually thought about doing it. I mean, I've definitely experienced like deep sadness, especially with like the loss of my dad and stuff like that, where like I just feel like I have no energy, like I can't get out of bed. Like I've felt that before, but I've never got to the point where like I wanted to take my life. But there's something to say where it's just like, it's almost like you don't have control over it. Yeah. And like it feels like there's no way out. And I don't know, there's just like that dark feeling where it feels like you don't have control over it, and people don't know what you feel like. I don't know, I'm just trying to like relate to those people because you've experienced it.
Sure.
Like, what does it feel like when it feels like there's absolutely no way out? Like, how do you get out of that? Like, is it just time?
You got to give time, and you got to I mean, if you are in a state of where you do believe in God and love God, I would say lean on that. But at the time, I wasn't. So, and I feel like most of the people that go through that, they're either turned away from God or it's not on their mind. If they want, like, God is always the thing that everyone should go back to. But if you're looking at something from another perspective, because there might be some younger people that like think, oh, God's like that answer doesn't work for them, even though it should. But I would say time, because everything does get better with time. I mean, I think like that period of my life was 10 years ago now. Like, that's so crazy to think. Like, 10 years doesn't feel like that long. And like in the grand scheme of life, if you live to 80 years old, 10 years is not that much.
Do you experience it anymore today?
No. And I think that's because of those experiences that I don't feel depressed or anxious or anything like that, especially with recently that I've been able to come back to God. Like, all of those worries are just kind of gone because I realized that this is not the only life I'm going to live. Like, this is just the before of your eternal life. Yeah. And that's something I didn't realize until like a few months ago. Right. But I mean, even before, when I was agnostic a few years ago, I would still look back on those days in middle school and high school and be grateful because those days made me stronger. Hard times build you into a better person. And I mean, it sucks that it happens to people, and it sucks that people decide to end it because of it. But the reason to keep it going is that you're just going to come out so much stronger in the end. Right. Yeah.
Amen, bro. Let's maybe go into something a little softer.
Sure.
But yeah, let's dive into God. What would you say your testimony is? Like, when did you really find Jesus? Obviously, you knew of him growing up, like going to church and stuff like that. But a lot of times there's like, oh, I went to church, like I believe in God, but like, oh, like Jesus is the way, the truth, and the life, and like I actually know him now, and I kind of had a breakthrough. Yeah. And my life is transforming because of it.
I know the moment. Yeah. So yeah, I grew up going to church, but I would just go to church. And then when I came back to it, I was going to a Christian school, but I would not say that it was my full comeback to God, because I fell away from it after high school. Kind of slowly when I went to college, got more like, there could be anything, like, like anything could be possible. Maybe Jesus was alive. Like, I don't know. I said so many, I blasphemed so many things before, but for like 2 years, I got really back into my faith at Oakland Christian, at a high school that I transferred to from my original one for pretty much for basketball. Yeah. But I wouldn't call that being back. So then after I fell away again, last year, actually, this happened about a year ago. I was on spring break in Fort Lauderdale last year with my cousin and a bunch of his friends, and well, they're my friends too, but mainly his friends from college and high school, and really great group of guys. We were going to bars, and like, I mean, in this phase of my life, I was like 3 months of coming back to Christianity from the Chosen TV show. I was really starting to get back into it, but didn't really have any like, I didn't know where to go with it, so I was like, I'll just run with the TV show and see where it takes me. And then, so when we were at a bar I had a little bit too much to drink beforehand. I was mixing drinks, had some fruity drinks, and I liked how it tasted. So then I actually got pretty drunk that night. And that was the last time I got drunk, actually. It was like over a year ago. And I never had any problem with alcohol. That was just a accidental night of not realizing how much I drank. Sure. And this is when I was in the bar, I started getting this tunnel vision, this overwhelming feeling of, where am I? Like, what am I doing? Why am I drunk? And it was like almost, and it was this bar where it was just blaring music. All of a sudden, everything fell silent in my head, but the music was still going on. But I couldn't hear anything else but look at individual faces of seeing individual people. They're super drunk, or a guy looking at a girl in like a bad way. And I'm like, why am I surrounding myself with this? Like, why am I, even though it was like I was with good people, I was in control of myself. I was a little bit drunk, but I was surrounding myself with all of that, basically sin of drunkenness and lust, because it's a bar in Fort Lauderdale. That's kind of that's spring break for you. But yeah, I started getting extremely emotional in the bar, not to where I was like crying, but to where your tears kind of fill up your eyes. Because it was like a voice that wasn't even my own, and I truly believe this was God, what are you doing here? Why are you drunk? What, it was basically like that repeating in my head in a bunch of different ways. And I'm like, oh my God, I need water. So I got water from the bar, and I'm like, I don't know what to do. And like, I start looking at people, they start looking at me a little bit weird, because I'm like, can they tell like I'm like not good? And I find one of the other guys that we're with. I'm like, dude, I need to go to the bathroom or something. I need to get out of this a little bit. We walk to the bathroom line. Bathroom line is super, super, super long. Yeah. I'm like, I'm not doing this. So if you've ever heard of an Irish exit, have you ever heard of that before?
I'm not.
It's basically where you leave and you don't tell anybody. You do it in a split second. And like, I turned around and I was like shoulder checking people to get out of the bar. It wasn't a bar, it was a club, this giant club. And so I just started like getting through, like I had to get out of there as quick as I could. And as soon as I left, and actually I passed by two of the guys we were with on the way out, and they're like, Jack, what are you doing? I just sprinted by them. And so as soon as I got out of the club, tears just started like going down my face, and I was sprinting back. I was like a mile from our Airbnb in downtown Fort Lauderdale at 1 a.m. Nice. And I was drunk, like very drunk. I don't know how I got back to the Airbnb. But I'm running back. I'm like crying. I was like, what am I doing? I'm clearly lost. Like this is not good. Like whatever. And because this was, I think, at the beginning of me believing again, I think that's what kind of sparked it in my head. So I called Josh. Josh is in California still, I believe, because he was like, I don't know. I knew he was still up because it was 3 hours behind.
Josh is his brother.
Yeah, Josh is my brother. But he was on his missions trip, and this was he was on a YWAM Youth with a Missions trip, and he was always like super in tune with his faith and all of that. So I was like, oh, I'll call him. And I'm like calling him, I'm crying, and like I can imagine what his reaction was when he picked up the phone at night from his brother in Fort Lauderdale of like I barely remember what I was saying, but I was like this is not what I want. Like I don't want to be this person. And the funny thing is I never really drank much either. Before. That was probably my first drink in like months before that. But even just to get drunk once, it was a big deal to me. And like being around that type of environment, and I was just like, I don't know what I need to do. And Josh, I remember him being like, well, you know what you need to do. You need to turn towards Christ. And so I get back to the Airbnb somehow after like probably 10 minutes of running, like stumbling down the Fort Lauderdale streets crying. It was, I can't imagine what it looked like to people. It didn't seem like there were a lot of people out if anyone saw me across the street. I was not running straight. I was like, it was bad. It was bad. Yeah. I mean, maybe I can thank God for getting me back to the Airbnb. Yeah. I don't know how I found my way back so easily. Yeah. But yeah, so then I got back to the Airbnb. Josh and I talked for like an hour, and eventually, calmed me down to where I couldn't cry anymore. And then that was kind of the night where I was like, yeah, that's like, this is the direction I'm going. I'm going towards God. I'm never falling away again. And the next morning I wake up at 5 a.m. And I go to sleep at like 2 a.m. that night. So I probably had like 3 hours of sleep. I wake up at 5 a.m., most energy I've ever had. I was surprised I wasn't hungover. I didn't even put a shirt on, just had shorts. I ran out the door and went on a run. I went on like a 6-mile run. Like our Airbnb was 2 miles from the beach. I ran to the beach, ran like 2 miles up and down the beach, and then ran 2 miles back. And the entire run, the world was colorful again. I don't know how to describe it, but like the sky was brighter blue. The ocean was brighter blue. The grass was greener. The sun was brighter.
Yeah.
It felt like a whole new life. Like I felt like I had a whole new life, and I believe it was because the night before I had decided like this is my old life, and I am completely committing to a new life. Like this is a new start.
Wow.
And that's probably what I would say is like what put me on the trajectory to coming back to faith so seriously without any question of turning away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why do you think you were crying in that moment? You think like God kind of had a supernatural...
It felt like judgment. Like it felt like I was being judged, but like by God. Of like, I saw myself in a mirror actually.
Yeah.
And maybe now I'm remembering I did see myself in like a bar mirror in the
like
back.
obviously,
so I could see how I looked, my eyes and everything.
Yeah.
I'm like, so it's like facing myself of like, is this like, I don't want to be portrayed as, I don't want to be seen as this.
Right.
And that's like the voices in my head. It felt like God of like, what are you doing here? Why do you look like this? Why are you drunk? Like, what are you doing? And that's like what made me cry. Is like, I realized how far I had fallen into my sin. So you just got like
convicted, like heavy
convicted
in that moment.
Completely. Yeah.
And obviously you were drunk, so like more emotions, not totally in the right state of mind, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like a supernatural like encounter with God, basically.
Yeah, that's what it feels like. And every
especially like
person
the
I've
next
told,
day, it's just going on a 6-mile run. Like
at like 5 a.m.
Doesn't really happen normally.
I was like happy. It felt like I was happy for the first time in years.
Yeah.
Of like, I felt like the world was new and life was new, and that I had. It felt like I had been given a second chance of like being able to come at life in the right way, and it felt like the whole old life was behind. Came back to the house. I was like, who wants breakfast? I'll go to Wawa. And then like, who want? Yeah. I don't know. I was just in the best mood ever.
Yeah. So your personal brand is kind of all about, I guess, following the Christian lifestyle, especially as like a younger person, and like not drinking, and like how like there's really like, it really doesn't make sense. Not smoking.
Yeah.
Waiting
for marriage.
Waiting till marriage.
Or if you've already had sex, wait now.
Right.
Like if you had a past,
right,
like doesn't mean that you can't change now.
For sure.
Yeah. That gets misunderstood a lot. People are like, okay, well, I'm not a virgin. Like, you're just gonna judge me. Like, I'm like, no. Like, you can change now. Like, we all have past. We've all done things that we regret.
Right.
So it's just about who you are today. But I mean, if you haven't had sex yet, wait. Like, that would be my encouragement.
Yeah.
Wait.
So what I'll say to you is like, sometimes like when you say those things, like I don't drink because of like these reasons. Like sometimes your reasons and my reasons like don't like totally correlate.
Sure.
You know what I mean? Like what are your reasons for like not drinking or smoking or like basically not even like drinking at all, basically? Because you pretty much don't drink at all. Maybe a glass of wine.
I'll have a glass of wine or a margarita.
Right.
Yeah, I like that stuff. But like drunkenness is a sin.
For sure.
But even when I was not believing in God, I just didn't really like that state of mind. I liked being in my own sober head, you know, like when you're drunk you don't really know what's going on. I didn't like that. I didn't like that I couldn't know
it seems so
what's going on.
It seems so easy for you though.
You know
what I mean?
I don't
almost
know
like it's almost like I like why would I ever want to do that?
Because I don't
and
enjoy
I'm over
it.
here and I'm like, but it's fun sometimes.
I don't find it fun.
And which is like interesting. So like me, like sometimes I have to discipline myself and create boundaries and rules around it to make sure that I don't overdo it. Where you, it's like, don't want to do it.
You know
what I mean?
I think it depends on what the category is. Like I've struggled with lust a lot over my life.
Sure.
So that's an easy temptation that I've had to work on for a long time. So maybe that's like my version of drunkenness versus you of like Like you
I have that
you
too.
find it fun. Sure. Well, we all have things that we struggle
Sure.
with. That's the thing.
Yeah.
It's like
yeah, we all have different battles for sure.
Mhm.
We all have different journeys.
Yeah.
We're all like on our faith journey, we're all in different spots. And sometimes like our spots are like, like some people, they find Jesus and they just like follow the way and it's easy to them.
Right.
Other people, they find Jesus, they follow the way a little bit, they fall back in and they just fall back in, get good again, you know, and they kind of go back and forth.
That was me. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think a lot of people do start like that, or some people, I mean, that's just their journey for a really long time. Until maybe they have another breakthrough, whatever it is. Maybe they have a kid and that's what puts them over the top. Like, all right, I got to do this for my kid now too.
Yeah.
You know, so more of a reason. But yeah, it seems like, you know, those worldly things come easy to you to like drop.
They do now.
Yeah.
I think that's also like the church I go to talks a lot about that, of like set aside all of your earthly cares, because and I mean even in The Chosen, Jesus mentions like don't be anxious about your life.
Yeah.
If you are of this world, you will stay of this world.
Yeah.
That's one thing to keep in mind, is like drunkenness, temptation, fun, like being, I don't know, like all of that, it's all things of this world. It's all things from Satan, and that's meant to test you.
Yeah.
And I mean, yeah, you just got to follow God's way of like, it's not bad to have a margarita or wine, but why are you over drinking? Like, why do you search to be out of your head? Why do you search to be drunk? Sometimes that can kind of make you realize that maybe you're not in the greatest state of mind, because you're trying to get your mind somewhere else to where you feel like a whole different person.
Yeah.
And that means that you might not be happy with yourself.
Yeah.
And that's like and that's actually something I think I realized during my come to Jesus moment, was that I wasn't happy with the person I was. And the only reason I realized that was because I was drunk, and I saw myself in the mirror of like, wow, like this is not who I want to be. Like, even though I don't drink often, I don't want to get drunk ever again, or like fall into sin, or do anything that's disappointing to God.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I agree with everything that you say.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. No, I know that. But yeah, no, that stuff's just, I guess that was always come easy. I've never found getting drunk to be fun. That's why I don't like take shots of vodka.
Yeah, I think
or like
with like things like that, like a lot of those things just come easier to you than like
Sure.
other people. Like for example, like me, like I would say I have like an addictive personality. Like you even see me with like things like running. Like I'm all in or I'm all out, baby.
Sure.
You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
I'm very intense. So then it applies to other things. So that's why I have to be careful and like put a threshold on things.
Yeah.
You know. But
you didn't know me in my basketball days. I was, you have no idea.
Oh, dude, you have
Intense.
Yeah.
No, I was a whole different person while I was playing basketball.
Yeah, there are some things that will not make this podcast.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I think like those things, like we were actually talking about this morning on the podcast that I was doing with Eric, and like those things, like there's a Holy Spirit inside of us that dwells with the same Spirit that rose Jesus Christ from the dead dwells within us, and when we're holy, the Holy Spirit works through us as a vessel, and now we're able to talk into people's lives. I mean, sometimes God will give us a word to speak in, like maybe, go pray for that person, like whatever it is.
God works through people.
Exactly.
Yeah.
God can work through people. God can talk to us. But if we're doing those things, we're quenching the Spirit, and we're separating ourselves from God when we
You
do
mean
those
sinning?
things. Yeah, sinning, or even if like you're just partaking in alcohol or marijuana.
Well,
Every
that is
day.
sin.
It's I would like
Drunkenness is a sin.
drunkenness is a sin. Having it be a master of your life, I would say, is a sin. Just like smoking one time or like drinking, it's like, well, how much can I drink, right? There's a question there. Who knows? I mean, you know, I don't know if it's like black and white. There's a little bit of a gray area.
Yeah.
Is smoking weed one time a sin? I don't know. I mean, I would be very careful with it. You're smoking with the intention of getting high and changing your state.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to condemn anybody, and I'm not
No.
going to say that I know, because I don't know for sure.
Yeah.
So that's all I'll say with that.
Well, it's also a sin to judge. So if you judge or condemn anybody for drinking or for smoking,
Right.
like I would never judge anybody for getting drunk. I would hope the best for them, that they realize that that's not the path that they should be on.
Yeah.
And that's when you pray for people.
Yeah.
It's like if somebody loves alcohol, if somebody's getting drunk, you don't go, oh, what a horrible person. Like they're sinning. That's bad. No, that's a sin for you to do, because
Right.
you're putting...
You sin too, right?
You sin too. You're
Yeah.
like, all sin is equal. Kind of like when there was a story about Jesus, how like a woman was going to be stoned for adultery or something, and
it was
he
adultery.
said, whoever has never sinned can throw the first stone. Boom. Like
only
you
Jesus
cannot.
could throw that stone, and he didn't.
Exactly.
And he said, "Go sin no more."
Yeah.
He just went there, comfort her, and go sin no more. That's how he dealt with it. So he dealt with it in love, and he brought her to light. And not doing that, not participating in adultery, was actually the path that would be light.
Yeah.
And actually lead her to down a better life.
Mm-hmm.
You know. But like I was saying, like those things, like drinking, smoking, participating in, hookup culture, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Like it's just separating you from God.
It does.
And it's actually bringing you to darkness.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, yeah, it's kind of sad that people don't realize that. But if they just tried this way, and I think we're also on the journey where we fall back in a little bit and we get back up and we keep going. Yeah. But if they just tried this way, they would know that it just leads to life and like happiness and peace, and it's just a better life. Like it's just like I don't want to be high on these things. I want to I don't know if this is like blasphemy per se, but I'd rather not be high on like things like marijuana, alcohol, whatever. I'd rather be high in the Holy Spirit.
Yeah, I don't know if that's considered blasphemy,
I don't know.
but
yeah, it's just like I'd rather.
I don't know, but the right intention's there. Right. So that's what matters.
Yeah, like I'd rather feed into the Holy Spirit than feed into these things, because what the Holy Spirit has for me is so much more. Yeah. Maybe it's like a little bit more harder. Maybe it's like more like suffering in a different kind of way. But you're also gonna suffer over here, and honestly, it's gonna be worse. Like the pain of regret or the pain of discipline. Which one do you choose? Yeah.
Well, if you choose the path of sin in your life, you're gonna die eventually. And then you're going to look back at your life and be in front of God and see that you chose the things of this world instead of Jesus. And I mean, that's a hard reality to come to think that you are going to be standing in front of the throne of God, and he's going to judge you. Yeah. And you have like everyone has sinned before. You just got to hope that, like, I guess I don't even know what you have to hope. Like you got to try to live your life in the best way and come to Jesus. And I mean, yeah, Jesus died for our sins, but obviously not everybody goes to heaven. Yeah, I don't know. It's also about humbling yourself, like not saying I'm definitely going to go to heaven. Like,
well, you look at the Bible, even like the things like the chosen, like the Pharisees, the one that are following the law to the perfect degree. They're like the most evil ones because they think that they're spiritually superior to everybody else.
Well, they also changed the laws too to make it benefit them. That was the problem too. Right. Of like. Yeah, like they, kind of like how Jesus would say, you have the best seats in the synagogue, and I forgot like if you ever saw that scene in The Chosen, where I know that's not like a quote for quote,
they would just
but it's a
condemn
good point.
Everybody else. Yeah. They put themselves on a hierarchy, but it's not like that.
They would call themselves holy.
Yeah, like you're no more superior, right? Like faith. Driven than me, and vice versa. And even like with the pastor, like he still has to humble, like the pastor's job is still to wash people's feet. Yeah. Like he still has to get down and serve. It's about serving. So, no, it's just a good point.
Yeah, no, it's scary, the fact. So the Pharisees, they had the true religion. Right. That Christianity is the true continuation of Judaism. But over the years, Pharisees found ways to be able to change laws for their benefit, for them to have money, for them to be more comfortable, and for them to be over their people. They kind of played God in that sense. So it's scary that they were able to change that.
When Jesus came, they denied him, which proved that they didn't know him.
Exactly, yeah. Because they thought the Son of God was
They would never deny him if they already knew him.
Exactly, yeah. No, and they thought the Son of God was going to be this warrior that would, like, free Israel and, like, do war with people. Like that, or not do war, but, like, be this like this war hero, like fight for Israel, but instead he saved everybody. But they thought save meant a different thing, like spiritually save instead of physically of this world save. Right. So if he did physically save everybody, then they would still be attached to this life. But if he came and told everybody that they would have eternal life instead of worldly life, like this world isn't forever. That's what they didn't. Yeah. That's what the Pharisees didn't want to realize, because they were so comfortable in having the best seats in the synagogue and having all this money and this popularity. They were seen as these high figures that had a lot of money, that didn't have to suffer. And they were so comfortable in that life, they didn't want to give it up. And that's why they were of the world. And they didn't want to, and a lot of them did believe that Jesus was the Son of God, especially after he died. And then the tomb, not the tomb, the temple, like the curtain ripped and everything. Then when he resurrected, they did believe, because they paid the Roman soldiers to not say anything, so that they did believe he was the Son of God, but he wasn't their Son of God in their head.
Yeah.
But they did believe it, but they were like, oh no, like we would lose our power, we'd lose our money.
I just think that's like advanced spiritual warfare.
Yeah.
When you think you reach a point to where you're so advanced that you put yourself over everybody else, But let's take a pee break.
Sure. Yeah.
All right, just came back from our little pee break.
Oh, you peed.
Might put a commercial there for Podcast House. I don't know.
Oh yeah.
But
we might have
speaking
one.
of Podcast House, let's talk about like when we met, how that came to be and how we got here.
Yeah. Sure.
So yeah, how did we meet?
We met because I had my own business where I would do podcast editing, and I was like, you know what? I'll start DMing podcasts, and eventually I guess I came upon podcast studios in the Nashville area, and I sent a DM to the Podcast House, which happened to be Zach, and then met up with him at the Podcast House, and we filmed the first 30 or 40 minutes that we met. And that's on YouTube, which is still an interesting thing to think about. I watched that video, I'm like, dang, we did not know what this would turn into.
I'm not gonna lie, I was like really close to like totally forgetting about your call, because it was just on DM and I didn't like put it on my calendar. But like literally like 5 minutes, I'm like, oh shoot, like I was supposed to call that kid.
That's funny.
And then we had the call, and then we kind of had like, I don't know, maybe a 10-minute conversation. And then you showed up like a couple days later. And then I brought you in. I'm like, yo, you just want to shoot right now? Just sat you down, started shooting a podcast.
Yep.
And then you went home and like edited it that day. And then you started video editing for us.
That wasn't even to like impress you guys or anything. That was literally just because I was like, I need to put a video out.
Yeah.
And then I went to wasn't it that same day that I went to Futures with you? And then you were like, dang, bro, you got that fast.
I think it was maybe like the
no,
day
it wasn't
after.
that
maybe like
day.
a day or two after.
When you got me the footage, probably.
Yeah. And then you basically, I think like a couple weeks after, if that, Haley Welsh came into the studio.
That was like 2 weeks after we met, actually.
Yeah,
because
exactly.
I remember my mom was in town. She was like, dang, you just met these guys and now you're meeting like basically a celebrity, like with the better media team and everything.
Exactly. So
Jake Paul's manager.
Yeah, things started to pop off. People started to come in the door. You were doing a bunch of video editing. Did that for a while. We started doing like content shoots around like Nashville with a group. And yeah, eventually the Podcast House in Nashville kind of died off in a way where, I mean, Ace he didn't want to do it anymore, had other things going on.
He has a successful business. So,
oh, yeah. He has a successful business, new relationship, so totally understand that. And
if I was in his shoes, I probably would have done the same thing. I'm not going to lie.
For sure. Yeah, I don't blame him at all.
Yeah.
And then, you decided that you wanted to keep it going, called me up, and then, boom.
Yeah.
We rented this house in Franklin.
Yeah.
Pretty nice house. Got some pretty cool spaces in here, just like this one. Pretty roomy. Built the studios out in like 3 weeks, threw a party, and now we're here.
If you want to check out our website, check the link in the description.
Yeah, for sure. Why are you passionate about doing this?
I just know it'll work. That's the thing. It's like I'm so confident that it'll work. And even after working with you guys at the Podcast House before for a few months, I was like, dang, I would really love to have my own studio one day. And then when Ace told us, like, I'm not doing this anymore, I'm like, well, I guess I gotta do it now. Might as well. Yeah. But I mean, I'm young. You're young. Yeah. Might as well take that risk. But the thing is, we've already seen that there's so much demand for podcasts in the Nashville area. So why not just start one in Franklin? Franklin's a great town. Everybody loves Franklin. It's safe. It's cultured, I guess you could say. But
yeah, I would say it's popping off.
It's popping off for sure. And it's not far from the city. It's like 25 minutes south of the city.
Yeah.
And
a lot of artists, a lot of creatives, a lot of entrepreneurs. There's definitely a younger audience. Podcasting is huge out here. There's a lot of big podcasts out here.
But it's just fun. Like owning a studio, especially like having this whole spot and then the other room too. Like it's fun because we fully customized it in 3 weeks. Like it was, we started from scratch of like me and you just got to do whatever we wanted with these spaces. Yeah. And then we get to make money from it. Like get to help produce people's podcasts. It's like, I don't know. It's just fun. It's a fun like career to have. And it's definitely, it can make money, but it's also fun. You get to meet a lot of really cool people, get to learn about their stories. We have our own podcast, so we have somewhere to film our own podcast.
Yeah, I think that's where the idea really sparked from. Like, we did our own show. We both are, filmmakers to a degree. Yeah. We had all of our own equipment. Yeah. And then eventually it just turned into, let's do this for other people because there's a demand for it.
Yeah, exactly.
Say if you were dying on your deathbed and all your family and your friends were surrounding you, and you had one more thing to say, the last minute you're going to live, but you're able to talk, what would you say to them?
I'll just say I love you all, and thank you for a great life. That's pretty much it. I don't know what else I would say in that moment, but it would be based around that of like, it'll be okay. I'll see you again another day. Yeah. Because we'll all meet again in heaven. Yeah. So it's not goodbye forever. It's just goodbye for a little bit.
Amen. You want to shout anything out? Instagram handle.
Shout out Podcast House. This is the best podcast recording studio in Nashville. Follow me on Instagram. Follow me on YouTube. Follow the Podcast House, and we'll see you soon. Hopefully.
We'll see you soon.
Yeah.
Out.